The AT&T Nations Football Classic is this weekend, and here with more about the big event is the senior advisor to the president of Howard University, Dr. Alvin Thornton. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We've had an incredible weekend and week with the anniversary of the March on Washington, and this is an anniversary year for the civil rights movement as well. Let's start by talking about Howard University's role in the civil rights movement and where we are today.
Well, Howard University's role obviously starts much earlier in 1867 when it begins to be an example for higher education and the possibilities for the African American community and indeed for the nation. And if you walk up just before the march, the jurisprudence that advocated for desegregation of our nation, for pluralism and democratization, starts with the great genius of Charles Houston, the former dean of our law school, and his great son, Thurgood Marshall, who actually wrote the jurisprudence for Brown. And Howard University provides not only that jurisprudence, students participated in the marches, and I always say, just as an historical note, provided the medical care for the marchers.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Well, there was a contingent from Howard University's medical school, which is one of the great producers of African American doctors in our nation, provided a lot of the health care for the marchers. Excellent. So Howard and the march are interconnected, absolutely. And indeed, Howard professors who provided the scholarship and the research. In fact, people like John Hope Franklin and others who were scholars at Howard provided a lot of the historical information that led to the advocacy for the march.
Now, many people say in this day and age, we have an African American president. Do we really need HBCUs these days?
You need not only institutions, but you need the right questions asked about our democracy as we seek to advance humanity. And Howard and schools like Morehouse and the HBCUs, they not only graduate students, but they ask the great questions of our democracy. How can you advance equality? How can you have an enhanced level of humanity, provide universal health care for people? But they also are the greatest source of diversity in American higher education. They are major institutions in the communities where they live, so they are unique in that sense.
Well, we've talked about the scholarship. Now let's talk about the athletics, right? This is the third annual Nations Football Classic. It's going to be at RFK, and it's Howard University against Morehouse.
Absolutely. Howard University's Bison versus the Morehouse Tigers, Maroon Tigers. Two institutions that have played throughout history. The last time they played, Howard University won, obviously, those, but they started in 1923 when Howard University won 10-0.
Oh.
And the last two games have been very close, decided in the last several minutes of the game, and we expect the same on Saturday.
Now, why is this a big game? Why is this something that everybody should come out and watch and cheer for and really participate in?
Well, not only because of the cultural engagement, but keep in mind that these institutions produced Martin Luther King. There's no Martin without Morehouse. There's no Thurgood without Howard. There's no, most of the leaders who organized the march, advocated for the march, came out of Morehouse and Howard and HBCU institutions. Now, we need our kids in the nation to know that, so the importance of these institutions are known, so it will be supported by the alumni, the philanthropic community, because they are essential. They are the essence of our nation.
And everybody can come together in sport, but we have to remember that the scholars are really the ones that are these athletes.
Absolutely.
These are scholar athletes.
We get to athletics through scholarship. That's why we will have on Thursday what we call our More Than a Game. And we will take what we call the long walk with a candle in the dark. The long walk through history, highlighting, and then candles removing the darkness and bringing light.
And so these are actual conversations with experts, debates.
We will have our president, Sidney Ribot, president of Morehouse, John Wilson. We will have presidents of some of the other HBCUs. We will have scholars, panelists. Our students will come together and tell people why they chose to come to an HBCU led by our provost, Wayne Frederick. And we will have keepers of the culture, we call it, because a lot
of the culture.
Absolutely, because the HBCU experience is also a cultural experience, right? And we'll call it through our bands and through our artistic presentations and others, the art and the history. We keep the culture, and hopefully that culture will lead to an elevated level of consciousness, not only among our community, but a consciousness level among those who observe our community. So the stereotypes will be removed. Now,
there are a lot of bowl games, football games.
Right.
It's mostly Thanksgiving time, but this is one of our early ones. Why is this one of the more important ones?
It's important because of what I said. It is athletics through scholarship. It is saying, look at these institutions not as just sources of football players, but sources of the things that led to the '63 march. That's going to lead us to answers to the great questions that we're being asked to answer today. Again, regarding voting rights and our criminal justice system and imprisonment and war and peace.
Things that are very current right now.
Absolutely, things that are current, and we think because Morris and Howard did it in the past, they'll do it again.
Excellent. Where can people find out more information?
Well, you can go to www.howard.edu or nationsclassic.com, and you'll get all the information that you need.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thornton, for telling us where we can be this weekend.
Absolutely.
Lots of activities. I
Indeed.
look forward
Thank
to
you
it.
so much.
Thanks for being here. More Let's Talk Live is coming up. Stick with us right here.